can't be right. And welcome to Whovian Wednesday. Today we are talking about Series 12, Episode 5, The Fugitive of the Judoon. As always, if you've not watched this episode, spoilers are in order. About this crazy episode, I have
the Archivist straight from Gallifrey. How's everybody doing?
with me today to talk about Fugitive of the Judoon.
I know absolutely nobody knows who I am, but who cares? You're about to find out.
I mean, this episode's just gonna get weird because I thought, literally when I was watching the episode, I saw Jack and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be mostly about Jack coming back. And then it's like, what the heck with the roof doctor? But, yes. I think we should just talk about Ruth first because that's the biggest thing going on right now.
I want to go point by point here because, I mean, this whole thing starts off
with Jack.
The whole thing starts off with the Judoon.
Well, yes, our space rhinoceroses.
Yeah, the Judoon platoon near the moon.
Or near Lagoon.
Or near the lagoon as well. You know, that's ripping right off of the David Tennant joke about Judoon platoon on the moon.
Yes. Anyways, before Series 12 came out, there was pictures about Judoon, so we knew we were getting a Judoon episode.
We were getting that, yes.
And Judoon, at the time, that was the only previous monster from a different era we knew we were getting. But I kind of feel like after this whole episode, the Judoon were like on back hold because of all the craziness in the episode. If you get what I'm saying?
They're pretty much narratively the vehicle to bring us into everything else that's going on. Much as they were the vehicle for introducing Martha Jones back in Series 3, Smith and Jones, which was also the last time we saw the Judoon platoon on the moon.
Well, on the moon, but not the last time we saw the Judoon, because we saw the Judoon with
very minor cameo appearances.
Right, and we get the whole thing.
I'm talking about when I'm talking about last time we saw Judoon, I'm talking about where they actually played a role. Where they actually saw them do something more than just stand there with their helmets on, doing the whole bo so mo moto so mo go so bo thing.
Shut up! I would have. No, that is true. That's Smith and Dr. and Smith, or is it Smith and Jones? It's really like the last good use of a rhino.
The last real use of the Judoon.
First in real use, yes. So, I mean, what do you think about Chibnall bringing it back? Because they were just there, but they also gave us the whole dramaticness and also the mess upness.
Yeah, me personally, I have no problem with him bringing them back because he used them effectively.
Yes, that's true. He did.
The Judoon are the kind of threat that they're not the kind of threat that you take with Daleks or Cybermen, where you're actually seriously concerned about the safety of the planet Earth. These guys are rent-a-cops who are very trigger happy.
No, okay, yeah, that's true. But I also
they are not a threat you take seriously. However, they work great as rampaging alien rhino monster things that you can use as a vehicle, as a comedic vehicle somewhat, to bring in something else.
Nostalgic builders.
There's that too. You know, they effectively brought in Martha Jones back in Series 3. With this episode, Oh, where do I even begin? I
Where do you
got to take
want to
my
begin?
glasses off at this point.
Where do you want to begin in this? Because
What they were bringing into this episode so potentially changes everything we know about Doctor Who to the point to where I'm not even 100% sure if we're going to be looking at this as the same show anymore.
that is a good concern because like when the whole thing came out, it's like, especially because I do have theories about Ruth Doctor, but if this is not the future of the Doctor and it's not a parallel, what we know is whoosh, thrown into the black hole.
You know, Captain Jack was another nice touch, and I hope he comes back later in this series.
See, I
He's
have something
not,
about that, but still.
yeah, he's not really the big meat of the matter that I've got to get into. The
No.
big meat of the matter that's got to be gotten into is Ruth Doctor.
Yes, Ruth Doctor.
Council of Geeks has been having a hard time figuring out what he's going to call her, and settled on just calling her Ruth. Ruth Doctor is the best term to call her by.
Yes.
Because
And I will link down below the Ruth Doctor by Council of Geek because Council of Geek is like a huge like thing we've both been looking at. He's another YouTuber, does a lot of Doctor Who, and he has been going on about this whole Doctor, Ruth, Jodie, whatever we want to call them now.
please don't say Dr. Ruth. That brings in whole other kind of connotations for people who grew up back in what you might call the 90s of itself.
Yes. Anyways,
Ruth Doctor.
back to Ruth. We'll just call her Ruth at this point. I have theories about where Ruth could lie in the Doctor's timeline if she is from the past, which are one of the biggest ones is this is before Hartnell. We with the TARDIS, and did she not recognize the Sonic or was she just making fun of the Sonic? I couldn't tell. Because she was like that little gadget of yours. Like, I couldn't tell if she knew it was a Sonic or if she was just playing it off as something else, you know?
Yeah, there are some problems with that theory, and Nathaniel from Council of Geeks has already touched on this a little bit, and he's
Right.
on the right track with disproving this particular theory. Now, the Brain of Morbius, which is a Fourth Doctor story,
That's where I was going to go.
that one did open up the idea of possibly previous incarnations before Hartnell. However, the generally accepted theory behind what we saw with that particular scene was that those faces that we did not recognize would have been the faces of Morbius, since this was sort of a battle of wits between Morbius and the Doctor. They're both Time Lords. So, Brain of Morbius being evidence for that, I'm throwing that right out the window right now.
I mean,
I'm sorry. With what we found out later on with the 13 life limit and what have
right. Right.
yeah, I have to discount Brain of Morbius. We're dealing
Okay,
with time.
listen to me on this. The Ruth doesn't recall memories and everything. Like, Jodie doesn't have any memories of her. What if those 8 faces were hypothetically a doctor? And then, because if those were, then technically, if I did math right, Tom Baker should have been that 13th regeneration. What if there was...
And there's more problems in that too. And this is why you have to let me finish my thoughts a little bit.
Hold up.
Okay.
What if we saw those 8, there was 5 more we didn't know of, and then maybe because it was the first time the Doctor was getting a new regeneration cycle between whatever the last Doctor was and Hartnell was, or something tragic happened that his memories got erased and like he lost the TARDIS, because the TARDIS we saw Ruth had was the police box.
Okay, there's a problem with this. And this is why you need to let me finish my thoughts.
Oh my gosh. You don't
And
let
an
me
early
first.
child 100,000 BC gives us the biggest problem with this so far. As is established in that very first story, okay, episode 2. The Cave of Skulls, I believe was that episode name.
Yes,
Okay.
just horrible caveman stories.
I know you don't like the caveman story. However, this episode specifically gives me the reason why Ruth cannot proceed Hartnell.
Yes, because the doctor
And
says that it was odd that the TARDIS did not change to adapt to the surroundings.
I was going to the exact line, which is, it hasn't changed. Why hasn't it changed? Oh, very troubling, very troubling.
Yes.
This is an indication that this is the very first time that the Doctor has ever had the TARDIS not change its appearance.
True.
Which means prior to landing in 1960s London, the TARDIS chameleon circuit was working perfectly fine. Susan gets into describing that it's been things like an ionic column and a sedan chair, among other sorts of items in their previous journeys.
Yeah.
It took the form of a police box when they landed in 1960s London. That is when the chameleon circuit went out, and the fault was discovered when they went to 100,000 BC after kidnapping Ian and Barbara, and it landed there still in the form of a 1960s era police box.
Yes.
There is the problem with the whole pre-Hartnell theory. That shoots that canonically full of holes. If you want to make Ruth Doctor prior to Hartnell, you have to throw canon out the window.
That is true. But
just throw canon out the window. Yeah, I don't even want to describe how big of a problem it's going to cause among the fandom that actually knows this stuff.
That is true. But to me, the other theory, the more popular theory, the season 6B theory, just seems way too
plausible.
Huh?
That one is more plausible.
That's more plausible, but I feel like that's the easy way route.
Not necessarily so.
Well,
I find it more plausible because we have a gap of time between Troughton and Pertwee. Now it's been presumed that that we only had 1 second and a half Doctor, and that second and a half Doctor looked like an older version of Troughton, as it would have been a combination of Troughton and Pertwee. However,
because we saw them in the 2 Doctors in the 6 Doctor era.
However, there is possibility of there being potentially other incarnations in that gap that get erased by the Time Lords from existence, as they were never supposed to be the Doctor to begin with. And the Doctor himself forgets having even been in those incarnations. Now, here I'm going to bring in, and I know I'm sounding like I'm going straight off of Council of Geeks, but again, I'm pulling right straight off of my own knowledge here. Yeah. Look at the 2 Doctors.
That is true.
The situation with Dastari that supposed, not confirmed, but fan accepted second and a half Doctor. The situation he's dealing with Dastari on behalf of the Time Lords, bringing in the Sontarans and the Andergams. The 6th Doctor does not remember any of this.
That is true.
But all new to him, as him and Perry have found themselves in the middle of this. This is supposedly in the Doctor's past. We are led to believe within the story that this is actually the 2nd Doctor doing all of this. But it's more accepted that this is second and a half Doctor. In any case, the Sixth Doctor has no memory of anything that his supposed second and a half incarnation has been doing during this time frame.
Right.
Is that any Doctor who could have existed in that gap could have been erased from the Doctor's entire timeline and his memory.
But there's another problem with that.
And they would not count as regenerations.
That was my point I was going to get at.
They're not supposed to be the Doctor.
But, see, I get where that's coming from, but erasing saying you're not the Doctor, just the whole regeneration thing, getting back that regeneration energy type thing. Unless the Time Lords exactly like gave him back the energy, that's the biggest flaw in that theory.
Here's the thing about the whole regeneration cap. Okay?
It was broken.
Well, the regeneration cap, the regeneration limit, is not necessarily considered to be a biological limit. There is a theory out there that this is more of a legal limit set by Rassilon, which is why the Time Lords are able to override it. They offered to override it for the Master and the Five Doctors. They did override it during the Time War, and we actually saw them override it for the Doctor himself as he prepared to regenerate from Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi. Mm-hmm. It is a legal limit, not a biological one. Therefore, if it is not a legal limit, and to top it all off, you're dealing with a version of a Time Lord that is not supposed to exist, it stands to reason that you can also delete incarnations that are not supposed to be there. So, Troughton Pertwee incarnation, gone. Ruth incarnation, gone. By the time they finally catch up with the Doctor and force him to become Pertwee.
Okay. But, I mean, I'm just still a little skeptical about that. I guess it does make a little sense because, was her name Gat, the other time lady? Was it Gat or Cat?
Gat.
Gat did mention that two Doctors are not supposed to be in the same place at the same time, which we all always know that, and those events are always erased from memory.
However, and yes, you have a valid point there. However, the consequences are supposed to be even more severe than that, and yet we have had the 3 Doctors. We've had 5 Doctors. We had the 2 Doctors. In the audio series, we had adventures like The Sirens of Time, Zagreus, The Light at the End, among several other Big Finish multi-Doctor audios. We have had The Day of the Doctor.
And then Twice Upon a Time.
And Twice Upon a Time.
Yes.
Bringing several incarnations of the same Time Lord together does not necessarily spell catastrophe, nor is it a physical impossibility. It is, however, a legal, and I'm going to 3 Doctors to this to back this one up. It is a legal issue. First law of time, established legally by the Time Lords, states that no more than one incarnation can exist in the same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Time Lords literally broke that law. They broke that legal law, which means it's just something we put on paper and we enforce through whatever legal means. They rescinded that law. They broke that law to put the second Doctor and the third Doctor's time stream and attempt to bring the first Doctor into that same time stream.
But failed.
Yeah. This does not necessarily create consequences beyond what you said, maybe not remembering the events. But what brings me into two Doctors, and why I say this story makes this theory the most plausible, is because the sixth Doctor does not remember anything that this quote-unquote second Doctor did working for the Time Lords. He doesn't even remember working for the Time Lords in that incarnation or anywhere in that time period. This is basically set to follow after the War Games, with the very setup of that Doctor working with the Time Lords.
Mm-hmm.
So in War Games, he'd already been sentenced to exile and forced regeneration.
Right.
So it's not just that the sixth Doctor doesn't remember the events of the two Doctors.
Mm-hmm.
He
doesn't
remembers
remember working.
nothing that this gray-haired version of Charlton is doing, or has done, or will do. He does not remember being in that specific 2.5 incarnation, which is the best way to describe the way we see Troughton in that one.
True. I mean, and when we see Ruth, she is working for Time Lords or working against or about to rebel. Because that...
With Ruth, I get the sense that we're getting to the point of more or less hiding from the Time Lords.
Hiding. Okay.
My theory at this point is that Ruth is actually another 2.5. Okay. So after the Troughton / Pertwee looking 2.5, okay, she is after that one.
Okay.
Leading up to eventually being found again by the Time Lords and forced into her actual official second regeneration going into Pertwee.
Mm-hmm.
And this is backed up by the fact that she used the chameleon arch to disguise her Time Lord biology.
Sure.
She literally buried the TARDIS.
Right. And the interior is like a mash of it has 2 and 3 in there with the round thing.
That is pretty much like late second Doctor era.
Yes.
You know, it's clear that she does not want to be found by the Time Lords.
Mm-hmm.
And her handler, Gat, hired the Judoon to find her.
Yes. So.
And my theory of it all, the way it would all work out in canon, is it would be the Ruth Doctor that eventually, after being located by the Time Lords, is captured again, forced to regenerate into John Pertwee, and lands in 1970 or 1980, depending on your dating protocol, London.
Yes, which is where Spearheads from Space starts.
That's where Spearhead from Space kicks off.
I think it's the 70s that it's the official, if I think correctly.
Well, again, dating protocol. There is controversy between whether that was the 70s or the 80s.
True.
They couldn't get the unit era dating right.
Never could, never will.
Anyway,
but, yeah.
That also very well explain why this entire incarnation is not remembered by the 13th Doctor. And
Yes.
it count against the regenerations. because it's much like what we saw in Devious, granted fan film, but John Pertwee was in it. As we saw in Devious, as 2.5, as conceived at the time, was being sent to regenerate, you were never supposed to be the Doctor.
Okay.
You see?
Right, but that part was from fan film, the devious thing. Anyways.
I know that was from a fan film, and I know you can't really base your canon on that.
You never can.
Ever.
Never base your canon off non-canon stuff.
I'm not really basing the canon on it. However,
Yes.
we're going into fan theory territory.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, and it's just another piece of the puzzle that kind of lends some credence into it.
One more theory, but it was like the weakest theory of them all. Probably weaker than the pre-Arnold thing.
So this is really going to get interesting how I get to bust this one all the heck and back. Let's go.
Okay, so this one more has to do with Series 12. But, and this one I know won't happen just because of the moment where Ruth and Jody are talking at the same time. But what if Ruth is from a parallel dimension, or somehow between what were the light things in Spyfall? You know, the light people. I don't remember their names.
Am I seriously drawing a blank on something like this?
Yes. Anyways, back to it. What if the light people not only because we saw them jumping through different eras, but somehow jumped through time, dimensions, and when the Jody Doctor and the fam went back to the TARDIS for Orphan 55, what if somehow they went into an alternate universe where the Ruth Doctor is the official Doctor?
You know, that's a rather interesting thing to think about.
Because we're also having Jody looking for the Master, and Gallifrey, and well, not to say Gallifrey in this, but she was saying she was looking for the Master and seeing if he jumps out, if she could find his trace anywhere, but she can't. What if he did jump out, but is in a different universe?
Judging from the TARDIS interior of the Ruth Doctor's TARDIS,
Yes.
I would have to say that she would have to be an early incarnation.
Yes.
But it would be rather interesting to theorize the idea of a parallel universe where the Doctor has actually always been female.
Yes.
And what if the Ruth Doctor is actually the equivalent to Hartnell?
Yes.
She is the first incarnation of this all-female time lady known as her.
That's why her and Jodie are so similar, because as we know, Jodie's the first canon female, although Missy has suggested she's been a female before, but their brains being similar, like the flip side of the coin. Because we do see the Doctor using a gun, even though she says the Doctor doesn't use a gun, and Ruth goes, I know. But the fact that she actually held a gun, which we don't really see Doctors really using.
Classic Who Doctors did tend to, from time to time, break the no-gun rule.
Right.
For certain specific reasons. And in fact, even in New Who, we had Matt Smith used a gun. Not to hurt anybody, but to shoot out a gravity globe.
Yes.
So, yeah. Jodie's, and this is one thing about 13, why I find her real interesting to analyze, because she's really been the when it comes to the whole no gun thing, her
She's the
incarnations
strong.
have been the strictest on it.
Yes.
Like, how
She's
dare you even?
strictest with no guns.
Yeah, why? How dare you even think of bringing a gun about? Most other doctors only came up once in a great while. Oh, please don't let this be a gun.
Please don't
That's
point
what,
that at me.
yeah. She's been like the strictest. Like it's like no gun is like her motto.
Mm-hmm.
But
Her catchphrase.
previous incarnations have not been that stringent on it. They've been willing to use a gun for certain specific reasons. Not necessarily to hurt anybody. The doctor never would hurt somebody with a gun. But for other purposes.
Right.
Like to show, like to intimidate an enemy. Kind of like, call my bluff. Do you know what I will do? You don't know.
Correct.
Peaceful peaceful reasons like shoot out the gravity globe so we can escape the weeping angels.
Mm-hmm.
Things of that nature. So I could very well buy that Roof Doctor would be a much earlier incarnation of an all-female doctor. And like the classic incarnations, like pretty much every incarnation before Whitaker in this timeline, she's willing to, at the very least, brandish a gun if it helps her ploy.
Right.
Not necessarily use it. She doesn't use it.
Well, she has a backfire.
She does make it backfire, but she's not the one that pulled the trigger.
True,
I mean,
but
this is
sets it up.
evidence of that much earlier sort of doctor, like what we've already seen in our timeline, that could bend and twist the rules if it suited them. The doctor didn't pull the trigger.
True.
She set the gun to backfire, but she didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Therefore, she didn't use the gun to kill the guy.
That's very true.
But put it into her hand, she's willing to brandish it if it, brings about the resolution she wants to bring about, but not necessarily use it herself.
Yes.
She won't be the one to pull the trigger.
But she'll set it up.
Or if she's actually the one holding it, she'll make you think she'll pull the trigger.
Yes.
So you back off.
Yes. But, I mean, I feel like, other than 6B being the big thing that people talk about, I feel like the parallel thing could possibly be a thing, especially if we're seeing Jack coming back. Now, that could be because, of this whole thing going on.
Itself is not evidence.
I know, but...
Captain Jack himself, I'd love to see him come back again, most definitely, don't get me wrong. But he's not really evidence, and he's not the star of this.
I know, but I feel like the parallel thing could be a thing with this whole white light people thing from Spyfall that I can never remember the name of. Just the white light people.
Say?
Huh?
Was it a Kazal?
Maybe Casal? I don't know. Chibnall has a tendency of making character names that I can't remember.
What is Chibnall's thing with making monster names that no one can ever recall?
Recall or pronounce. Case in point, the last episode. But
he's just as bad with planet names, apparently, as we saw with Ransorav Kalos, or whatever the heck that planet's name was.
Yeah.
And had the planet's name in the damn title.
Oh Oh, I know.
The Battle of Ranskorav Kolos, whatever I call that.
Whatever that thing is. Yes. But, yes. Anyways. Yeah, Chibnall needs to learn how to make more pronounceable, rememberable names. I think I don't even remember what the things from Orphan 55 are.
Those were the dregs.
Yeah, the dregs. Anyways, yes.
Those were the dregs. How can you not remember the name of the dregs?
You know what? I have a horrible memory.
Dregs of the monster world.
Oh my god. No.
He was really scraping the bottom of the barrel to find them things. They really were Drek. They really were Dreks.
Anyways, yes.
That name was very appropriate for them. I don't think I will ever forget that monster name because it was so appropriate.
Oh my god.
These monsters are a load of Drek. And you called them the Drek. Of course you did.
Oh my gosh. Talking about Jack coming back because, as everybody wanted, when Jody was announced as a doctor, bring Jack back.
Bring Jack back. Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know if you caught this, but there was something from this episode that recalled this very first episode in the Doctor Who universe. Do you know what that was? Huh?
Oh, really?
Yes, there was.
Nana.
Damn it! The nano jeans, yes. Which makes me believe. I know this sounds.
The Empty Child the Doctor Dances, by the way.
Yes, I know. I had to go look up that episode because it's where everybody lives.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, which begs the theory: is this Jack we know? Like, I don't know if I want to say right after the Doctor dances, but like, is this the ship he had from the Doctor dances? Because it has the nano genes on it. Didn't he like? I forget what happened with the nano genes. You know what I'm trying to say?
The Nana genes were already taken care of in the Empty Child the Doctor Dances. And why he has Nana genes on that ship and why they would be attacking him, I have absolutely no idea. That little bit of scene in this episode,
Wow.
I basically just kind of have to throw out the window as what?
Well, other than Jack Snook and Graham, which was pretty hilarious.
That was good.
I love that whole bit.
That was good. That was definitely.
Oh, that was so good. Especially when like where we just see Graham first and you hear Jack, you're like, oh my gosh, Jack is here. And Jack has not changed a bit.
Oh, he has not. And I love the voiceover before he reveals himself.
Yes. It's like it builds it up and then like ta-da, I'm here, which is very John.
It's like, be careful, don't move, or the lasers will cut you down, or something like that.
And then he talks about being cut down by lasers.
Just hang on 1 second, I'm shutting them down now. You know, and all you're hearing is just the voice all over as Captain Jack is just having them, just feeding them instructions to stay alive as he goes to shut the security down.
But you like the moment, and then you see Graham and Jack together, they snug. And then the best part was when Graham said, "Oh, what was it? She not he? Is that the exact word for word? She not he." And then you just see Jack's smile, like,
"Oh, this I've got to see." That is so Captain Jack Harkness.
Oh, come on. After especially the first scene we see with Jack is him looking at Rose's bottom. Don't you remember that? Jack was, oh, yes. Yes, he was. In the Empty Child, the first scene we get with Jack is him looking through binoculars as Rose is hanging off Big
Exactly.
Dennis.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yes.
Well,
Then,
one thing I said about Captain Jack Harkness, he will proposition anything that moves.
yes. But I also did like the little Ryan Jack thing with the cheesiness and stuff because it reminded me of Mickey and Jack. Captain, oh, what was mixed? It was it was Cheesehead and Mickey Mouse, was that it? Something like that? I forget what Jack and Mickey called each other. I I thought there was a Mickey Mouse and a cheese in there. But and then when Graham was like, so Silver Fox told me he not she not he. And then Silver
Yes. Now he's thinking that Yaz must be the doctor.
Oh my gosh. Can I just say, other than the one moment we bring up the fact that Yaz was a police officer again, we still had to drag a dog. I'm sorry, Yaz is a dog on a leash that doesn't want to walk, and we're just dragging her around until maybe we kill her. Anybody knows this. I feel like Yaz is a useless character. She can have so much potential, especially being a police officer. She had an episode that was about her family, and even at that was meh.
Spyfall was really the one time where she really actually shined at all.
One
Being
time.
her background as a police officer for interviewing.
Yes. Whatever his name was.
But that was really about it as far as for.
And then the moment where didn't she say she speak Jude? Uh, Judoon?
Jadoon. 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 Jadoon.
You know I'm trying really hard to say it right.
I know you are, and I still have been waiting and waiting and waiting to correct you on it, and now I got the chance. So 5 or 6 times over. Jadoon platoon near the moon.
Anyways, but yes, okay. Now, what was Ruth's husband's name? Oh God, was it Leo? Leo! Was it Leo? I can't remember his name. I think it was Leo. Also, can we just talk about the bitterness of the coffee shop worker? He was more bitter than coffee.
Oh God, yes. What the heck was his deal?
That's what we called a very stupid love triangle.
That
Or
is what we call
practice
a man that has not grown up.
Oh my God. But anyways, the husband of Ruth.
Acting like he's 16 years old, trying to get the hot girl in high school to go out with him instead of the football player.
True.
And they're in their 40s, and that woman is married. Get over it.
But okay, yes. Can you and then Graham just looking at the cake like that's the worst cake I've ever seen, mate. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, it kind of is. I mean, come on.
I
It's
mean,
a birthday cake for her husband, and you put that on there.
I think Graham was like speaking what all the audience thought.
Yeah, seriously, that coffee shop owner needs a life.
Well, he said he's not very good at it when the Judoon come in, and he thinks they are trying to rob him of money.
He's not good at anything. He just, he might as well he just needs to pack it up.
Well, he died. That was probably the best use for him.
There we go. He packed it up.
And then he had the whole case file about Ruth.
Probably the only time where I have actually felt happy about a civilian being killed by the monster of the week.
Oh my God.
That coffee shop owner has to be the most cringeworthy
thing.
I don't know what you consider him. He is just cringe.
No, I agree.
He makes Clyde from Rose look sane.
Oh my God. You're right.
And Clyde had an entire website devoted to who is the doctor.
Yeah. Yes. Let's not forget that.
Mm-hmm.
But
he made Clyde look sane.
I mean, like when Ruth comes in for the coffee, he's just going on and on and on, and you can tell Ruth is not having it.
A dossier on the guy.
Which makes no sense. Like, you have that much of a hatred for someone. You have a freaking dossier. I don't even know anybody who does that.
It's clear to me that Chibnall was pulling from the episode Rose for this guy. I have been able to say, for the most part, with these episodes like this, that Chibnall does really good when he is borrowing good ingredients from good shows and putting them together.
This is not one.
That was not one. Clyde from Rose was not a good ingredient to bring into this story. And the first thing is that not only are we doing Clyde from Rose again, we've made him about 10 times more cringeworthy.
10 is easily 20 times worse. Please be with me on this one. It's 20 times worse.
It's bad.
It's horrible. If Chibnall does someone worse, I think I have to pack the bag.
So glad that he got killed so quickly after the Judoon came into his coffee shop.
After we told him not to let anyone come into coffee shop.
Exactly.
Oh my God, but
he doesn't listen anyway. And then he tries to cooperate. Then he tries to weasel his way into cooperating with the Judoon, and then they kill him. And then I cheer and say, "Thank you.
Thank you for destroying him for us."
Yes,
we're all thinking.
A coffee shop owner that isn't
terrible,
doesn't belong in the loony bin.
The Looney Tunes bin.
It isn't like, borderline. Sorry, but I thought this guy was like borderline rapey.
No, I had that feeling. But
he had that feeling too. At least Clyde wasn't trying to be a rapist.
True.
Anyway,
let's get off a coffee shop owner and talk about a husband.
Hey, coffee shop owner is making some very enlightening conversation, let me tell you.
Too bad we don't have a cup of coffee. I hate coffee.
Yeah. I'm down to 31% charge, so.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's do the husband real quick, and then do we even want to talk about the whole ending fam thing or no?
The whole ending fam thing.
It's right after we have all them reunite They had just
you know what? Why don't we go ahead and just get right to that?
Just do that. Well,
as we wrap up, because I did kind of like that scene.
okay. Do you want to say anything about the husband or no?
The husband?
Yes, Ruth's husband.
The
Because
guy was to protect her, and his whole entire purpose was to basically remind her who she was so she could
it was basically Family of Blood, only reverse role. Well, not reverse roles. But no, there were speculations that box was the husband's Time Lord soul.
It wasn't.
I know, but still.
The husband really, I mean,
Was a filler.
as the companion replacement in place of Martha Jones, he was rather weak.
At least Martha gave the doctor a good
He
slap.
wasn't bad per se, but that's just basically saying he wasn't cringeworthy like the coffee shop owner. He pretty much served the purpose of one being a red herring, and then two, turning on the actual subject of intrigue for this episode, which was the roof doctor.
Right, with the whole breaking the glass thing, the breaking the glasses, the phobe.
Yeah, and he allows himself to be killed by the Judoon in the process. He plays a role, but I don't feel like it's big enough to talk about. He's not the kind of character that I sit there and find myself scratching my head trying to figure out what his deal is, or go, ooh, I hope I get to see this guy again, or even say, oh my God, would you just die like the coffee shop owner? Thank you, Davey.
Just die like your coffee shop hater.
Yeah, but this guy, I can't even remember his name, and I'm not even going to try to remember his name.
Anyways, yes.
He's just pretty much a non-entity. He's not the focus of this episode. He's just a vehicle to advance the plot. What I do like to get to is that ending scene because it's a good, clever bookend to our opening scene.
Yes. Especially because I'm watching her with everything. Like in the TARDIS, they mention how she always runs off. We learn her running off was back to Gallifrey and looking for the Master. And I feel like with Jodie, she's been keeping more of herself than any other doctor in modern Who to herself, telling the companions. I mean, it took a freaking whole season. Well, it took a season, I think, for Tenet too, but I mean, we didn't have I'm the doctor, I'm from Gallifrey to the companions or anything like that until like a full season in with this team.
Mm-hmm. It is it. Okay, we open up the episode and we have the fam, and there is clearly some fracturing going on within Team TARDIS. They're trying to figure out what's going on with the Doctor, and she's being very standoffish and short with them. End of the episode, she's still not quite sure how much she wants to have them around for what's about to come.
Yes.
But we get the reassurance from the fam that, look, especially from Graham, that, hey, look, we're here for you. 100% of the way, we want to help. Let us. And I thought that was a wonderful way to wrap that episode, to bring things right back to where we started from, with the idea that, they bonded a bit more because of all this.
Yes.
Even if they weren't all four together for every single thing that went on, since they got split in two, they are still all together.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which which I feel like them being together might become a downfall in the end, because if everything gets resolved in the end of series 12, there can be serious casualties with all this, with the Cybermen thing and everything.
Quite possible.
Well, I feel like out of the TARDIS team, Graham has the strongest connection to the Doctor. If that makes sense. Like, I feel like when we get these big epic moments of the TARDIS team talking to the Doctor, Graham's the speaker. Ryan is by his side as his grandson, and Yaz is just Yaz.
Yaz is just eye candy. Come on! We all know that's what people are thinking. She's eye candy. That's all she thinks.
Thank you so much for Archivist joining us in this episode. Thank you so much for Archivist. Thank you so much for Archivist joining me in this episode of Doctor Who Review. Thank you so much for Archivist joining me in reviewing this episode of Doctor Who. And go check out Council of Geek, who we reference a lot in this episode because we both watch them a lot. And that link will be down in the description below. And what do you think about this episode? Let us know in the comments down below. And what do you think this means for the future of Doctor Who? Because personally, after this, I still don't know what the future of Doctor Who is going to be. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more Whovian Wednesday. And until next time, have a good day.